Dissociative identity disorder, or DID for short, clients experience depersonalization as well as derealization of themselves when two or more identities rotate control over the client's behavior. The odd thing is that the client typically has amnesia or lack of memory, not even aware that these alternate identities exist, and they're often confused by big gaps in their memory. So how does this happen? Usually originating by traumatic events like rape or abuse, the various identities and memory gaps serve as a protective mechanism, shielding the client from the stressful traumatic memories, helping them to cope with the stress, sort of like a turtle going into its shell to protect itself from harm. Naturally, the stress and anxiety that remind the client can trigger the identities into play. So Hesse mentions, dissociative episode. Disassociation is a method of coping with severe stress. And dissociative symptoms are not under the person's conscious control. Remember, they don't even know it's happening sometimes. And lastly, the existence of two or more subpersonalities, each with its own patterns of thinking. So it's really bizarre and interesting to observe. Now for treatments, the goal of care is to help the client merge the various identities into one personality by integrating the past events. So Hesse mentions, which factor would indicate successful treatment? The patient has integrated past events. Yes, the idea is to get the patient more comfortable with the traumatic experience, to come to terms with it. Now for the 5 NCLEX tips that love to show up on Select All That Apply questions, be sure to write down the ones bolded below here. So number 1, grounding techniques, as deep breathing, counting coins, or even holding an ice cube. This is done to ground the clients to reality during dissociative episodes. So Hesse mentions grounding techniques to alleviate symptoms. Hold an ice cube in your hand. And always encourage the client to, number 2, journal about feelings and disassociation triggers. And number 3, for trust, we want to develop a trusting relationship with each identity. We want to explore the feelings and merge the identities into one. And number 4 is self-harm, always big on exams. So we monitor and listen for expressions of self-harm, as the alternate identities may be aggressive. And lastly, number 5, this one's huge. Never ask the client to recall the memories. This may result in more distress and worsen the symptoms. So always allow the client to recall the memories at their own pace. So just remember, don't force things to happen. All right, that wraps it up. Thank you